Welcome to the Figure Fit Lifestyle Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Nierzwicki, international best-selling author of the book Happy, Healthy, Fit, founder and owner of Solace Yoga Studio, Solace Yoga School, and Figure Fit, the worldwide online personal training program. I'm a single mom, Paleo Fit Score female champion for 2014. I am a self and soul love expert, entrepreneur at heart, a visionary and a futurist. I'm also a mentor. I am so grateful that you are here. Each week, I'll bring you a special guest or an inspirational tip that will help you break old patterns, find that inner motivation that will help you take action towards creating the life of your dreams. You didn't come here to play small and watch others live amazing lives. No, you are divine, my godly friend. The universe wants to shower you with an amazing life filled with happiness and soulful connections. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Figure Fit Podcast, where we discuss fitness, paleo nutrition, yoga, meditation, spirituality, and other ways to have a happy, peaceful, and abundant life. And here's your host, Liz Nierzwicki.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. I am so excited for today's podcast. So today I am interviewing somebody really special, Rob Jacobs. Rob is a leader in the Walking for Health movement. So back in 1986, this former fitness instructor founded the Walking Center, which pioneered the use of motorized treadmills to pace people, making walking an effective form of exercise. So today, he is the co-founder of Unsit, which is the company that created the very first ever treadmill that you can use under your standing desk at work. His Walk One treadmill even caught the attention of some celebrities, such as former California First Lady Maria Shriver, who is an ardent health advocate, and also former long-distance swimmer and Dancing with the Stars contestant Diana Nyad. So today's interview, Rob and I talk all about the benefits of walking and also the detriment of what sitting can do to you. I actually even talk about my own sitting. I sit quite a bit doing a lot of computer work. So some people, they may look at me and go, oh, she's fitness, she's working out all the time. And that's just not the case. I do sit a lot and I am on my desk and on my computer quite a bit. I do one workout a day, and on the other days I'll do a yoga class. So outside of that, I do sit a lot and it's not good. And we talk about that today. So I am really excited for all of you to hear this interview today. So without further ado, here is my special guest, Rob Jacobs. All right. So Rob, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I can't wait to learn more about you and also share you with my community. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm looking forward to being shared.
Good. Well, why don't you do me a favor? Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing with your personal journey.
Well, I consider myself a serial entrepreneur in the space of health and fitness. I've been at it for 3 decades now, and started out in exercise physiology, personal training, got into exercise equipment, and in retail sales. I had a chain of stores called the Walking Center back in the 1980s, 1990s, and we took motorized treadmills and put videos in front of them so people could watch a movie for a couple hours and walk. And I had mostly stay-home housewives who in Beverly Hills who wanted to lose weight, and by watching a movie and walking for a couple hours, they started losing weight, and all of a sudden they started buying all the treadmills, and I became a dealer for some of these major manufacturers of high-end treadmills. So we were selling lots of treadmills for people's homes and exercise programs to go with it. And that got into other kinds of exercise equipment, and still remain in that field where I have a business that supplies parts and service to fitness centers and health clubs around the country so they can maintain their equipment. But then I got married along the way. My wife is a vegetarian chef and specializes in organic vegan cuisine, and she started up a chain of restaurants serving a unique kind of health supportive cuisine. I've been involved with that. over the years, and worked in there a stint for 7 years at the Pritikin Longevity Center here in Santa Monica, California. There was also one out in Florida at the time, where we used exercise and diet to take on serious degenerative diseases, mainly diabetes and heart disease. But we had extraordinary results. The people who would come in literally limping or in wheelchairs sometimes because they had such bad gouty arthritis, and then a month later they'd be jogging down the beach. And so my experience working at the Pritikin Longevity Center, using exercise and food to change to improve people's health, had a profound influence on my life, and seeing what could be done and the effects that these things could have, and I've been involved with that ever since. Today I'm working on this treadmill desk business, which we just started, which is really exciting because it employs all the experience that I've had throughout the years. And again, introducing a new way into your what I call work lifestyle or work style. Most people nowadays work at a desk sitting down, and it turns out that sitting down all day has a profound influence, a profound impact on your health in a negative way. And even a trip to the gym, and again, I've spent my whole life trying to get people to go to the gym and work out, but even that trip to the gym every day cannot overcome and undo the damage that people have done by sitting all day long. So we developed a product that helps people to be able to not be stuck in a chair and be up and moving while they're doing their normal desk work. And we call the company Unsit, and the product is thought of as a treadmill desk. I like to call them walking desks, but people are using them in all sorts of different ways. I'm using one now as we speak.
Oh, I love it. So I've always wondered, because I don't have one, and I've always wondered about them and like how I could realistically do work. For example, like type an email as I'm trying to walk. You know, and I've always thought about that. Excuse me. Or also, even I guess walking and talking isn't a big deal. That's kind of easy. But for example, if you're doing a podcast or something, how do you not get, winded, or how do people not hear it?
I'm walking on my treadmill desk as we speak. I've covered 345 steps since we started. Walked a 1/10 of a mile and or almost 2/10 of a mile. Burned a few dozen calories. So and you don't hear it because it's not exercise, Liz. It's not exercise in the traditional way that we think of as going to a gym and working out, accelerating your heart rate to 50, 60, or even up to 80% of your maximum heart rate. It's not breaking a sweat. It's none of that. This is really just a very slow meandering, I think of it as. Okay. So you're not out of breath. If you're out of breath, you're going too hard. But our treadmill won't even let you go that fast. The maximum speed our treadmill goes is 2 miles an hour. And on the controller, we by design did not put any numbers on there because people tend to want to go faster when they see numbers. They want to achieve and hit the highest numbers. So we covered all the numbers. There's just a very simple, handsome looking black control box that fits into the decor and the look of an office desk with a simple turn knob that allows you to adjust the speed. But we just tell people find a speed that's comfortable. So the answer is, for walking, it's easy. I'm walking and talking right now. That's very natural. For reading close-up materials, there is a little bit of an adaptation. It's your body's meant to kind of gaze 20 feet out and beyond as you're walking. So when you're doing desk work, you're looking at a very short distance, a couple of feet. So some people have a little bit of a time adapting to that, but I tend to push my computer monitor further back, and you just adapt to that. And I always tell people to position the treadmill desk where you can see out a window or see out into a room so you can look up and get a further visual gaze. I've found that that's important. As far as the typing thing, the first week or two, your typing skills will drop. Mine did, and I'm a big typist. I've typed all my life. And so I started finding I couldn't type quite as fast, and I was making mistakes and typos started popping up in my emails. And so, but after a few weeks, you start to learn and adapt, and those typing skills do come back. It's always going to be easier and more accurate to do fine manual dexterity, fine motor skills and movements sitting down or standing than it is walking. There is a bit of a coordination challenge there. But for typical, stuff you're doing on a computer, typing out some emails or minor work, no, you adapt very quickly and your typing skills will come back. Again, it's a very slow, meandering speed. And about half the time, I have the treadmill pause and I'm just standing there. So if I'm doing very fine motor skill work, working on a spreadsheet or maybe doing some graphic work or something that requires a finer attention to detail. I'll just be on pause and just be in a standing mode. But again, I'm not sitting. And the company's called Unsit, and we're trying to get people up out of their chairs and moving again, and not to be sitting as many hours as they are now. So that's the primary goal. So again, it does take some adaptation. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's certainly worth the effort. I would never go back.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things about that, I love what you're doing, and I really think that I need it. I have a normal traditional desk in my office, and a lot of times I just get tired of working in here, so I'll move to my kitchen, and I'll go to my kitchen table, and then sometimes I go to my couch, and I know that sitting is bad, and I sit a lot. Despite what I do, I'm on the computer a lot, and I know that I need to not sit as much, and if I am going to be sitting as much, I need to do something about that. So I do. I love what you're doing, and I think it's time that I really seriously look into it.
Yeah, well, what happened, I'll tell you my personal story, because it might relate to you and to some of your listeners, is I had a friend who came to me and said, can you build a treadmill that goes under this desk? This was a man who was in his 70s, and he was having some back trouble, and a big computer person who was in the business of computer hardware. And he had bought a stand-up desk so he could work standing up. He felt that was better for his back. He wanted to be on his feet more. But he said, my legs are achy. After about 10, 15 minutes, I need to be walking. If I'm walking, my legs don't get achy. And there's a very simple explanation for why that happens. When you're standing still, there's no circulation of blood down to your legs and to your extremities. Your body's stagnant. It's standing there. And your heart can pump blood away down to the legs, but it can't get the blood returned to the heart and lungs to get reoxygenated. You have to move your legs in order to return the blood up to the heart and lungs. And walking is the best way to do that. The actual flexion of the calf muscles is what literally pumps blood back up to the heart. It's thought of as a second heart. So if you're standing still, you'll have blood pooling in the legs. You'll feel achy. You'll want to sit down in 15 or 20 minutes. And that's what happened to my friend Nolan. He wanted to have a treadmill under his desk. And he said, but my desk is so wide that a traditional looking treadmill, a fitness treadmill out of a gym, I'm stuck in one place. I can't use the width of my desk. So we built a custom wide treadmill. And that's how this business started. And then I started doing it at home. I started tinkering around with different ways to build treadmill desks. And treadmill desks have been out there. I'd seen a couple of times people promoting them on TV, and I poo-pooed the whole idea. I thought that it was, having an exercise physiology background, that walking so slowly wouldn't have any impact on your fitness or your health. But it turns out I was wrong, and it has a huge impact, mostly because you're out of the chair, not sitting, is why it has such a positive impact. So anyway, I tinkered around with different fashioning different sorts of treadmill desks, starting out literally with a piece of plywood on top of an old treadmill I had, and then modifying and adapting and changing and tinkering. And along the way, as I was trying to develop a product, I started finding that I never was using my chair anymore. I wasn't going back to my regular desk. I slowly, over the weeks, migrated all the things off my sitting desk over to my standing walking desk. And I looked over one day and realized, I never sit over there anymore. And then I got my kids doing it, my wife doing it. And we used to have 4 Herman Miller Aeron chairs. These are very expensive $800 chairs that have the perfect lumbar support and all the cushioning and so forth. And I sold those chairs on eBay. They're gone. And I'm looking around our study here that we have where my kids do their homework and I do my office work. And we have all stand-up desks and 2 treadmill desks. And there's no chairs. And we have a couple of those balance platforms from Fluid Stance that I like that my wife uses. She doesn't use the treadmill as much as the kids do. But I literally, when we're working, we're on our feet moving. When we're resting, that's when we sit down. So over time, I just gradually started doing this as part of the project of developing the product. And I found I never use a sitting desk anymore, and I do all my work when I'm on my computer or I'm on the phone like this or reviewing bills to pay. The typical things that I used to do at the desk, I'm always doing either standing up or mostly walking. Now, of course, I do sit down. I sit down to take a break. I sit down to have a meal. But to me, sitting is for taking a break and resting. And when you're working, you should be up on your feet moving.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Wow. So you've really been through so much over the 3 decades that you've been doing this. So what is this your favorite thing you've done so far, or what was the favorite thing that you've done in business?
I know you're interested in entrepreneurship, and people ask, what does it take? And to me, every time I've embarked on something new, I've always said this is the most exciting, fun thing I've ever done. And right now, yes, this is.
Yeah.
This is it. But in the past endeavors, I was always passionate and excited because I'd stumbled across something that was new to me, and I wanted to share it with the world.
Yeah.
So that's what this is about. But I see it as extremely profound because, again, I've been in health and fitness. I know you have for years also, and we're all trying to help people to add activity to their lifestyle and to get more connected with their bodies and how that connects with their mind and spirit, and any way you can do that is helpful. But what I've seen with all the fitness equipment that I've sold in my life and all the health club and gym memberships, still there's a huge epidemic of obesity happening in this country. People are getting heavier, they're gaining more weight, they're becoming more sedentary. And we haven't really dented it much. There's this giant industry of people selling exercise equipment and health club memberships, but it hasn't helped. In the big scheme of things, if you look at the total population, America as a whole is gaining weight and becoming less healthy. So what's happening? Health club memberships are up and fitness equipment sales are up, but it's not happening. Why? Because the people buying those health club memberships and fitness equipment are the people who are already fit, and they don't really need it much. The people who really need it are reluctant to go to a health club or fitness center. They feel out of place, and the types of exercise that are being promoted are too intense and too difficult and physically, and they're intimidating from a mental, emotional point of view. So people need to have more gradual, moderate ways to step in and not feel out of place in a health club or fitness center. So that's what the walking center was all about. But when I started that, is I was trying to find something for everybody that everybody could still do and have some impact. But when I realized that all these people, all these trips to the gym and all this exercise, if you sit for 8 hours, and a lot of people do, they sit in a chair for 8 hours, you cannot overcome the damage that 8-hour stint of sitting did. Even a trip to the gym, as great as it is, and I don't want to discourage people from exercise. You should still do the usual exercise protocols and that people are recommending. You should have 3-4 good cardiovascular sessions a week. There should be a good stretching and relaxation program part of your fitness routine. Some strength training. All those things are still recommended, and I encourage people to get that mixed into their lifestyle. But if you sit all day long, that exercise routine will not overcome the damage that sitting did.
Right. And that's exactly my inner dialogue, is that I do sit a lot, and I also teach yoga and I do fitness workouts, but I understand the impact of sitting. So I'm at that place where I'm like, okay, it's definitely time to do something about that. Not sit as much, change it up a little bit, squat, do like yoga positions while I'm standing here working or typing. But standing is also so bad. It's just not comfortable.
Yeah, no, you got to find a way to move while you're up. And yeah, I've seen people doing different asanas and modified yoga postures while they're at the desk, and that's fantastic. That should be integrated too. Or people have little reminders on their phone or their computer that prompt them to get up throughout the day, so the sitting's not continuous. And all those things help. That's all positive. What I'm promoting is just another tool in the toolbox of ways to interrupt the sitting all day long. And if you think it's helpful, Liz, I'll walk through some of the physiological things that happen while you're sitting all day long, if you think that'll motivate your listeners to get up.
Oh my gosh, do it. Yes, for sure.
I got it all from a book by a man named Dr. James Levine. He runs the obesity clinic at the Mayo Clinic. He runs the obesity research in Minnesota, and he spent his whole life studying movement and how movement impacts health and wellness. And his book called Get Up is what I consider the Bible of this whole movement. But he walks you through there all the physiological things that happen. The first thing that happens when you sit down is you take the weight off the bottom of your feet. And the bottom of your feet, as I'm sure you know from yoga, there's millions of nerve sensors on there. It's probably the most innervated part of the body. And it's very, people can experience that when you get a little pebble in your shoe, right? Just a tiny pebble, and your whole thing will be off. You've got to get that pebble out. Your body reacts to that in a big way because the bottom of your feet are so sensitive. And I consider the bottom of your feet like a switch. When you put weight on that, the switch is turned on. Your brain gets a signal that we're awake, that there's opportunities out there in the world. There also could be threats that we got to watch out for. And think of early humans roaming around the plains of Africa, and they're up and running around, and they're making sure nobody eats them, and they're trying to find some food to eat. They're moving around. Threats avoid threats, and find opportunities. So standing up, just putting weight on your feet, turns on that whole part of the nervous system that says, hey, we're awake, we're alive, let's take advantage of the opportunities, let's avoid the threats. Now, when you sit down, you take the weight off the bottom of your feet, and it's literally like turning the switch off. Your brain gets a signal that, oh, we're resting, we're sitting down, there must be no more threats and no more opportunities, we can go to sleep now. And the brain gets a signal to literally wind everything down and start going to sleep. And if you're sitting for more than a few minutes, people start to feel that right away. Your body relaxes, which is good and something you may want to do at times. But it literally wants to go into a sleep mode. So your metabolism drops to less than 1 calorie per minute burn. It's almost, again, trying to go into sleep mode. And people experience that in the afternoon, right? You're getting that groggy, nodding off in the afternoon at your desk, reaching for a cup of coffee or a can of cola or something with some caffeine to try to stimulate you. And that's because your body thinks it's time to go to sleep, and it's trying to go to sleep. And then people are, how many times have you been into an office setting? Any office in America has a coffee station, or the coffee and caffeinated beverages are so much a part of the office work environment, and it's necessary, because if you're sitting all day long, you need to have something to keep you awake, because sitting is a signal to go to sleep and to lower metabolism, lower calorie burn. Now, that becomes a disaster if you eat anything at all, because
right.
as soon as you take in some food, especially anything of plant-based foods that has carbohydrates in it of any kind, your blood sugar goes up, and your body has to normalize its blood sugar and bring it back down. Now, the normal way to normalize blood sugar after you eat is by exercising. So you're out moving around, and you're burning up the sugar as it hits your bloodstream. But if you're sitting, there's no activity, nothing to burn up that excess blood sugar. Your pancreas has to kick in, and the pancreas becomes less and less effective when your body's not moving. So it has to work harder and harder to try to get that sugar out of the blood and stored as glycogen in the muscle cells. So now you've got blood sugar spikes going up, and over the years of doing that, your pancreas is becoming less and less effective. You're on your way to blood sugar problems and diabetes. And this is all because you're just sitting too much. If people just took a 15-minute walk after a meal, they can literally cut in half the spike in blood sugar from a typical meal. And this was one of the studies Dr. Levine talked about in his book. They took 2 groups of people. They had one group, they checked their blood sugar for 2 hours every 15 minutes, and they graphed blood sugar rise. And they gave them equivalent meals. They had one group sit, the second group walked on a treadmill for 15 minutes at 1 mile an hour for 15 minutes. That's a very slow walk. I'm walking faster than that, right? I'm walking almost 2 miles an hour now. So 1 mile an hour, 15 minutes, their blood sugar spike was half that of the people who sat. And not only that, it wasn't a spike, it was just kind of a gentle rolling up and cascade back down. Now, if somebody could come up with a drug that would cut blood sugar rise in half, it would be a blockbuster runaway pharmaceutical success. But here we have a very simple way to control blood sugar and to drop it down by half. And that's just walking at 1 mile an hour for only 15 minutes. What if people walked at 2 miles an hour for half an hour? That would be, the results would be extraordinary. So this is a very simple thing people can do, but most people sitting at a desk, cup of coffee and a donut, and it's a health disaster. So that's the metabolic side. Okay, you sit, your metabolism starts to go to sleep, almost 0 calorie burn, darn near 0, and big problems with blood sugar if you eat anything. But the next thing that happens when you're sitting is your back tends to round backwards. The lumbar back should have a nice S curve forward, but you're slouched in the chair, and that's why all the good chairs try to offer some support to push your lumbar spine forward. But they can't help that much. It helps a little bit, and it's good to have good lumbar support at your chair. I'm not dismissing that at all. But the discs are now being pushed backwards the wrong way against the nerves. And you've actually increased compression on the discs by 2 or 3 times. It's hard to believe, but when you sit, you actually increase the compression on the discs. And standing upright in the body's natural position, the spine maintains its natural S curve, and all the muscles that support the back, which are the glutes and the quads in the front, all the muscles around your hips and from your waist down, and what support your back. When you sit in a chair, you shut those muscles off. They're literally it's like cutting the legs out from under a building, or cutting the foundation out from under a building, and it starts to collapse and crumble. So now the back is trying to support itself with just its middle core muscles, the erector spinae muscles, and all those muscles weren't meant to carry the back and hold it up. They were just meant to stabilize it and balance it. but now they're having to do the full work that the legs were supposed to do. So you end up with bulging discs, sciatica, low back pain, and that migrates up to rounded shoulders, and people are getting neck and cranial problems from that. And again, all this is rooted in sitting in a right angle contraption. If you look at it from a yoga point of view or from a body posture point of view, the body was not meant to be folded up at a right angle and then stuck in a weird contraption where all its muscles are no longer supporting it. So musculoskeletal pains and aches and dysfunction all rooted in sitting too long. So you've got metabolic problems, structural, muscular, skeletal problems. And then one of the things that we're focused on, Liz, in our business is promoting the creative and productivity side of this. When you're up and moving, you tend to be a lot more creative. You tend to be better at solving problems. You tend to be more interactive mentally. And studies have shown that people are actually more productive throughout the day. And it makes sense. Your body's up and moving. It's ready to go. How many times have you been stuck on some sort of a mental problem or a disagreement with somebody? You're trying to work out differences. And somebody says, hey, let's go for a walk. And on that walk, the solution comes to you or agreement comes between people who are having some sort of a disagreement. It's just such a common experience. If I've got adolescent kids at home and you're struggling with those issues, and we take the dog for a walk, and during that time, solutions and reconciliations happen. Steve Jobs was famous for taking his engineers out for a walk when he was developing new products and to solve design challenges. Reagan and Gorbachev, walking in Reykjavik, Iceland, reached agreement on winding down the nuclear arms race. I mean, these are profound things that have happened when people were on a walk, and it makes sense because your body's engineered to be solving problems while it's up on its feet and moving, and not sitting. So we're encouraging people to get into this for just the mental, creative reasons, and we think there's a huge impact there. And then I could walk you through. If you want me to cite some of the studies that have been done that document this, but the biggest one that gets in the press still was done a few years ago up at Stanford University up in here in Palo Alto, where they were trying to find if walking had any effect on creativity. And they were trying to find if it was the walking or if it was the outdoor environment that was doing it. Mm-hmm. But people seemed to be feeling more creative and mentally alert while they're walking. So they took 3 groups of people, and they gave them all creative problem-solving tests. They were actually trying to measure creativity, and they measure creativity with these problem-solving quizzes and tests that they do, so they can actually get a metric on it. So Group A sat in a chair and did these creative problem-solving quizzes. Group B, and they did them before and after. Group B was walking on a treadmill facing a white wall, and Group C was outdoors on the campus of Stanford up in Palo Alto, where there's a very stimulating outdoor environment with trees, and they gave all 3 groups these problem-solving tests. Well, the groups that were walking performed 60% better than the sitting group. 60%. It was a huge increase in creative problem-solving abilities while walking versus sitting. But the 2 groups, the group that was on the treadmill facing a white wall and the group that was outdoors, there was no difference. They both scored that 60% increase. They were equal, which said to the researchers that there's something about the physiological movement of your body that's having a connection to your brain and is causing your brain to be in a better state for problem solving and for creativity. And that doesn't surprise me, when I think of it from a physiological point of view, but it's profound because it ruled out, is this just an act of being outdoors? And being outdoors is great. I'm trying to get outdoors myself this morning, but it's just the act of getting up and moving will have an impact, improve your mental alertness, your creativity, and people find they're getting more work done this way.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, one of the things, if I don't do an early morning workout, for a long time I was doing my workouts in the morning, and then I switched to afternoons and evenings, and I did not like how I felt. I didn't like the change in my mind. I was crabbier. I was like, I wasn't as productive, and I was like, okay, this is not working for me. I've got to get back to those early morning workouts.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing. I mean, to think of getting up in the morning and plopping down in a chair and sitting there for 4 hours.
It's just, ugh. Yeah. There's nothing about that sounds fun.
No, and millions of people are doing it every day as we speak.
Right, exactly. And that's part of one of my biggest concerns and one of the things that, honestly, we can't really do much about. You can't make somebody who doesn't want to work out, you can't make them work out. They have to want to do it. And, you touched upon this earlier, is that the people who do go to the gyms are the people who want to go to the gyms. And I hate to say this, but I do feel that it's very true, is that sometimes I think that some people are simply lost causes. And I hate to say that, but it is the truth, because we from the outside can't force change upon them. They have to want it. And, I worked in the insurance world for a while, and it was the 80-20 rule that, only, or really like 90-10, only like 10% of the people were actually wanting to be healthy and work out. And so if you did a wellness program for these groups, only the healthy people who liked to work out would take advantage of it. So you really couldn't force the people who didn't like to work out to even do anything with it. So that's really challenging. That's something that I wish was different in our world. And, the only thing that I can look at and go, okay, well, it's about being the example and being the change that you want to see. And I really truly believe that now more than ever, because certain people just see you doing, and fitness and working out was never something that I pushed upon my son at all. He always was naturally active, and I would every now and then we would go for walks or we would go ride bikes. Actually, that was quite regularly when he was a kid, but never any sort of true fitness, right? Like I do. He would just see me doing it. And now he's 14, and now he is doing it all on his own. It's never been anything I had to tell him to do or force him to do. And I still will ask him, hey, you want to go to my workout with me? And he's like, no, but I'll come home from the studio and he'll be working out in the basement. And so it's one of those things that as they see you doing it, especially the younger generation, I think that that's our hope, right there, is just being it, doing it, letting them see you, never pushing that upon them, because that has the opposite effect. And they will naturally, just because they see that as part of your lifestyle, they're going to pick it up. So.
No, so true. Liz, one of my mentors was Nathan Pritikin, and he used to tell us, you can't change people. Just shut up and be an example.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. I'm very pleased that my kids have picked this up too, because they saw Dad in the corner tinkering around working on this weird contraption that looked like a Rube Goldberg invention with a treadmill and a desk and all this. And now my daughter does all her homework, and she's an academic hound, and she's on there 3 hours a day, on the treadmill desk, just doing what I'm doing, very slow meandering. But these kids now a lot of times do their homework together on a Skype chat like we're on here, or they'll have group chats going on, and they're sharing their screens and doing homework as a group over the internet. But my daughter's up on her feet moving that whole 3 hours, as opposed to slouched over a table or a chair, and it's had a huge impact. I agree with you that leading by example, that was what happened in my life. They saw me doing it, and they just started using my desk, and away they went.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And people are just naturally curious, and it's not really even something that we have to push upon people. We just have to be.
Yeah. But look, it's a natural thing to be up walking all day long. And again, it's for people who come out of the fitness business like ourselves, it's hard to think of walking as a workout. And it's not a workout in the sense of of pushing past and breaking down muscle fiber and having it grow back stronger. You're not going to increase your measured fitness level, but you do have a profound impact on your overall health and well-being, because your body's meant to be up and walking all day, not sitting all day. So even if people can just get start with a half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, be up at a treadmill desk, or get out of the office and just take your cell phone and do a phone conference walking around the outside of the building. But some way just to get out of the chair for a half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, then maybe extend that to an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon. Now you're up to 2 hours a day. Just that right there would have a big impact on people's health and well-being and their mental outlook. Again, we're very strong on this whole creative and mental side of what this work style does. People less groggy in the afternoon and more satisfaction in the work they do. If you're working at a desk job, just to get up and physically move around more often, whether you use a treadmill desk or not. But find ways to integrate that into your work routine. And so much of the modern work day is spent on conference calls or webinars. Those things can be done while you're up and moving and walking. They don't have to be done sitting in a chair.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, there's so much that can be done moving.
One of the things we put on our website, and if I can put a plug in, it's unsit.com, unsit.com is our website. We have a page there called the Newsroom, where I collect all these interesting articles and studies that keep getting published, and I've got dozens of them posted there. But one of them I saw in Inc. magazine, and they published the results of a study done at Texas A&M University in call centers, where they looked at 168 people working in call centers, where they're stuck on the phone taking calls all day long. And that's a great environment to measure work productivity, because call center can measure how many calls the person took, what was the level of customer satisfaction from the callers that they spoke with, and call centers do that all the time. They're constantly watching how productive the people working in the call center are. So they took 168 people, and the ones that stood at a standing desk, I'm not talking about walking, they just stood there instead of sitting in a chair. They did it 90 minutes per day at a standing desk. Those people were 46% more productive than the people who sat all day long. 46% increase in productivity. That's a huge number. And they didn't even walk. They were just standing for only 90 minutes a day. So just getting them up out of the chair for just an hour and a half throughout the day made a huge difference in productivity. Imagine if they got them standing out 3 hours a day, or if they got them moving more on a treadmill or walking around. But that was a pretty profound number, to see that kind of an increase in productivity. And what company or business owner wouldn't want to increase their work productivity from their workforce by 46%?
Oh my goodness, right? Incredible.
Yeah, no, incredible. And again, a very small change. Not 90 minutes on an 8-hour workday is not much. And all they did was, raise the desk up so people could stand. And walk in. So you don't need a lot of times on a conference call, a lot of these call center workers wear headsets so they can just stand up. They don't need to even change the height of their desk. They can still do what they do just by simply standing up and getting out of their chair. There's also a lot of cool products that from out of the yoga world, and people have made where little balance boards that you can stand on, which allows you to flex and engage your muscles so you're not just stagnant and standing. And I highly recommend those. My wife has one here. It's called Fluid Stance. A group up here in Santa Barbara, near where I live, developed. It's a beautiful product made out of natural bamboo fibers, and it allows you to stand and be kind of on a surfboard motion. So your legs have to engage, your back has to engage, you have to balance, and it minimizes a lot of the fatigue you get from just standing still. But there's a variety of products like that on the market that help with standing desks, and our treadmill is engineered to go under a standing desk. So for those of your listeners who've already made the investment in an adjustable height desk, our treadmill just rolls right underneath it. It's very short. It's half the length of a typical treadmill. It's twice as wide, so you can use the whole width of your desk. And it's very quiet. I'm on mine now. By the way, Liz, I just clicked past 1 mile. I'm at 1.1 miles during this podcast interview. I've taken 2,600 steps. I've burned almost 90 calories, going on 100 calories.
That's so awesome.
46 minutes just while we recorded this podcast.
Wow. That's great. That is just so wonderful. So where's your target market?
Well, interestingly enough, lawyers are the biggest buyers of treadmill desks. And we found that in our market research, and it's proven true since we launched our business. Nearly half the people who bought these have been lawyers. But the first product we have is really an early adopter item. It's an executive-sized desk, so it's aimed at people who could afford to have an expensive working desk in their office. But we're also selling them to corporations and mid to large companies that have large groups of people working together, and they can put them in as a shared desk. So a lot of the tech companies are putting them out there in these shared work environments where people don't have a dedicated desk. They're moving around the office. I think families like myself have them in the home study, and the family can share it for both homework and desk work. But again, we're still in the early adopter phase, so it's for people who are buying these, or people who want to take a chance on something new. As we expand and grow, we're going to develop a product for the education market that can go into schools. I think schools are the next big frontier in this. Might even be the first wave, because for learning, kids should not be sitting in chairs. They should be up on their feet moving, and that's well documented and well studied. If one of the books I relied on for this is John Rady's book called Spark, and John Rady's a medical doctor who specializes in the connection between fitness and your body's movement and the brain and how brain functions. But there's no doubt about it that kids would be much better off up and moving when they're learning instead of sitting them down in chairs. So anything that can help kids get out of chairs, that's a market that we want to be able to address. The product that we have on the market now, though, is aimed at the professional market, professionals and corporations looking to engage their workers.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for you and what this has a potential to do. I mean, it is absolutely needed, and I couldn't agree with you more that our children need to be up and moving. We know that, that's where creativity comes into play. So I love that that's your focus, and it's not necessarily about fitness per se or weight loss or calories. It is about creativity. It is about our mind state, because that's everything.
It is, and I cringe when I think of the school teacher who says to little Johnny, "Sit down and focus."
Yeah.
Because it's the total opposite. They should be standing up and moving to focus. No kid should be forced to sit in a right angle contraption and crunch their body over. And if you're thinking and creating, and if you're learning, the whole vestibular part of the anatomy is, it often never gets mentioned. But in yoga, when you're dealing with balance poses, that's what you're engaging, the vestibular part of the brain and the anatomy. And when that's turned on, that's where learning and memory really happens. And when you're sitting in a chair, that's completely shut down. There's no engagement of the body's balancing systems. But when you're up and having to balance, that's why these balance boards that people are using at standing desks are so great and so effective. You don't have to have a $2,000 treadmill. The treadmill engages the whole walking, so it takes it a step further. But again, just being up and having to balance turns on your brain in a way that it's where learning and memory is really happening. And again, there's studies that document this.
Yeah, that it's true. It's and so I'm so happy to have you here today. It's absolutely we've been hearing this now for a while. When was the first treadmill desk invented?
Dr. Levine claims to be the first one out there with it. I'm sure some do-it-yourselfers tinkered around before him, but he was on Good Morning America. I believe it was 2006. I'll have to go back and read into his book. His book is called Get Up, and you can find it on Amazon. I think I'm going to put it up on our website. But 2006, he went on Good Morning America with a self-fashioned treadmill desk and promoting this idea. And we're not the first. There have been other companies that have taken treadmills and stuck them under desks. But again, that's all they've done. And we looked at it from a very different approach, saying, well, this is a fitness treadmill for a gym. What does it need to be in an office? It needs to be quieter, it needs to go slower, it needs to be shorter, it needs to be wider. And we did all those things. And it needs to stop when you step off. One of the things about most treadmills is you walk away and the belt's still going. And if you're in a shared office environment, somebody could inadvertently step on a moving belt and have a terrible accident. So we made our treadmill so it does not go unless there's somebody standing on it. As soon as you step off, it comes to a stop. So it really is something that's conceived of, decor-wise. We gave it a very light color scheme so it looks and blends into an office or a home environment. It doesn't look like something that came out of the gym, and it functions like it should for being under a desk. But again, so I think 2006, from what I know, is the first published treadmill desk. And I was perusing over our website as I'm talking here just to get some more ideas. And there, we have a page called the Newsroom on unsit.com, and I published a picture up there that where these guys did a MRI on somebody's brain before, they're sitting quietly, and then they took the same person and had them stand up and walk for 20 minutes. And you can see on this picture, the brain is it's blue and green and all cool and very low brain activity while sitting. And then after simply a 20-minute walk, not a big workout, just 20 minutes of walking, there's this whole quadrant of the brain that's fired up red and everything's turned on and hot and active, indicating that the brain is active there. And this is the area of the brain that's associated with creativity and with happiness. And it's invigorated by simply walking. So it's a physiological documentation of what we're talking about, that just some light walking engages the brain in a way that is very beneficial. And
that's where I love that. That's kind of stuff geeks me out. Like, really understanding human behavior and what really gets us to tick and to move and to make better decisions. That's so important. And just knowing. So I love the scientific research and that you have that on your website. That's a great resource.
Yep, unsit.com/newsroom. And we broke it up. I've gotten so much stuff on there now. There's 3 sections to the newsroom. There's articles and studies about creativity. There's another section called productivity, where articles and studies about increased work productivity. And a third one that's about health. And so, improvement, weight loss, cardiovascular, all those things you do benefit from, even though it's a slow walk. And so we divided the newsroom up into those 3 sections. There's a ton of stuff on there. When you scroll down to the bottom, there's a little link that says older posts, because I've got so much stuff on there now that you got to, if you want to cycle through it all. But we laid it out in a way that you can scroll through it very quickly, see the headlines, and then drill into the ones you're interested in.
So are there different levels of desks, or what do they cost?
Oh, yeah. Our product line, or out there in the whole world? Or
Yeah, just in general, yeah, I'd say. Where do they begin?
You can go to IKEA and for around $350 get a very nice adjustable height desk. And, it's IKEA, so it's that level of quality. It's not bad. And, for home use, though, primarily. But it's a very nice adjustable height desk. And we've paired our treadmill with that desk. We've had people who had the IKEA adjustable height desk, and our treadmill slides right underneath it and fills the whole width of that desk up, and it's a white desk with I think IKEA, you could probably order different color schemes. But if you go online, there's a half a dozen different very nice companies that are selling adjustable height desks that they can ship to you UPS. You can choose your own finishes, desktop colors and frame colors and so forth, and even some choices of width and dimensions. And you can pick and choose and order those online. We have a desk that we like very much. Ours is a commercial grade, so it's heavy duty. The price range is from $350 for those home models. Ours is $795, but it's a commercial grade desk meant to be put in a heavy use environment. It's very sturdy. It's got 4 preset adjustment heights, so if different people are sharing it, they don't have to find the height of the desk each time. They just tap a button and it returns to their height. So that's a nice feature for a shared office environment. And then the desktop, again, people can customize those. We have a very a natural wood finished material on our desktop. So that's the desk, and we made them separate. So we sell it as a pair, or you can just, if you already have the desk, just buy our treadmill to go under your existing desk. The treadmill is obviously a much more expensive and involved piece of equipment to build than just a desk, and because you've got a belt dragging along a deck with a motor running, there's a lot to it. You have to get a good one. I would encourage your listeners not to get a $300 treadmill it's not gonna last very long. It's gonna be noisy. Somebody might get hurt on it. This is worth the investment.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So, this is really incredible. I think that it's such a fantastic opportunity for both people who can afford it and to actually make the decision just to commit to do it. It's, I don't think either one of us has said this, all the research that is saying that smoking is now the new sitting. I mean, no, sitting is the new smoking, right?
And no, that headline is out there. It's one of the things that intrigued me a few years ago. Sitting is the new smoking. But here's the thing: if you look at the research, Liz, it's actually worse. It's much worse than smoking. It's hard to believe because when you see somebody smoking, you see the smoke around their face and you can smell it, and it looks terrible and horrible. But I'm old enough to remember when people smoked, and it was acceptable to smoke on an airplane, to smoke in a restaurant. I don't want to date myself, but I had a teacher in 3rd grade. Was our school teacher, and she had an ashtray on the desk, and she chain smoked all day long. She had a cigarette smoldering in the ashtray in the classroom. If that's not illegal today, it's certainly unacceptable socially. I can remember a pediatrician of mine, a physician, doing an exam. He had a cigarette burning in the exam room.
Oh, and my gosh.
But people can't believe it, but I'm telling you, that's how it was in the 1960s. And then what happened? There was a report by the Surgeon General that linked smoking directly to lung cancer. And from that point forward, people started changing. But it took about 15 years for the changes to really set in before restaurants started, and municipalities started banning smoking. Now smoking is socially very unacceptable. Right. Even here in California, in bars and places where smoking was part of the lifestyle of bar life, you can't smoke in public places anymore. And nobody questions it. It's just common sense. But sitting, is all smoking does is cause lung cancer and contributes to heart disease. But sitting does that too, and it causes back problems, and it causes fatigue, and it causes blood sugar problems, lead to diabetes. I mean, when you add up the damage that sitting does, it's far worse than smoking. And I know that your listeners may find a hard time believing that, but the data is there, the studies are there, and there's no doubt about it. And so when we started trying to move away from cigarettes, what was the first things that the cigarette manufacturers did? They put filters on the cigarettes. When the news came out how bad this product was for them, their solution was, it's not so bad, we'll put a filter on it. Well, that made it a little bit better. There's no doubt about it. A filtered cigarette is going to kill you a little bit slower than a regular cigarette, but you're still smoking a cigarette.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who, there's better chairs and people are sitting on stabilizer balls, and that's all good. That's an improvement. But you got to get up and move, and you got to move, several hours a day. You can't, these long stints of 8 hours of sitting is really, really damaging. And I believe that in 10 years from now, Liz, we're going to look back and you're not going to see schools that have rows of chairs. I think schools will be the first place that you'll really see a dramatic change, because it's so significant how much better kids do when they're up on their feet and moving. And schools are going to find ways. They're going to save money, by the way. These chairs are expensive, and they're killing these kids. So I think schools, you're going to see is where you're going to see a dramatic change. They're going to get rid of chairs, and people will find a way to be up and moving more. And then in office environments, you're already starting to see it. Facebook built this new giant headquarters up in Menlo Park here in California. They had the architect Frank Gehry design the building. They spent gazillions of dollars on this thing, and I saw a photograph of the inside, and all the desks, every desk was an adjustable height desk that went up and down so people could work standing up. They didn't buy one desk that was stuck at sitting height. So they see the future, and they know where it's going. And they've also got treadmill desks up there as well. But I believe we're going to look back in the not too distant future and look at this as the era like we looked at in the 40s and 50s when people smoked. Now it's gone into a large part. But I think sitting will go away as a part of your work lifestyle. Obviously, people will sit when they're eating their meals or going to a movie, or there'll never be a shortage of sitting time, especially here in Los Angeles, where you spend so much time in your car.
Right.
You're stuck sitting. It's funny. Even then, I take my kids to the Dodger game in downtown LA, or to a concert downtown. We now have a new train line they just installed. So we take the train, and I stand up the whole way on that train ride. It's a 35-minute ride, because I'm going to be sitting at the baseball game watching the Dodgers, so I might as well be up on my feet moving in the train. And then when I'm at the game, in between innings, I get up and move. I don't stay seated that long. I make sure the people behind me are always annoyed, but I don't care. I'm not going to sit for 3 hours straight without getting up. I know how damaging that is.
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's amazing about the smoking back in the day. And, it's funny. I talk to a lot of people about habits, and it's like those habits, that's really all it is. Like, we just have to change our habits. When we can get into a new rhythm and you can start changing your everyday patterns, I just really think that's our biggest problem of all. And it's, that's research has really come out recently, and there's been a lot of books written about habits. But in my opinion, it is all about our continuous actions that we're doing. And, yoga is the undoing of what we're doing every day. So it's the undoing of the sitting environment that we're in, or the hunched over, and we call a lot of the yoga poses undoing what we're doing to our body in a daily life. And habits and our daily process is simply just if we can just break it up every single day and not have such a patterned life, things could change drastically. But it's really just being aware of what your habits are and being able to do little baby steps every day that change it in the direction of what you do want to go, or really just making the best decision every single day for your health, for your happiness, for your all of that.
Liz so well said, and I wish I could have you as a spokesperson for what we're doing, because it's so true. I look at sitting as just a habit. People just think that's how you have to work, and it's just a frame of mind, and it's a habit they've been in. But you don't have to be stuck in a chair all day long. And hey, I just clicked past. We're over an hour now. Hour 5 minutes. I've walked 1.7 miles, almost 1 3/4 miles. I've taken 3,900 steps, going on 4,000, and burned over 110 calories. and walked 106 minutes all during this podcast.
That is incredible. That's so awesome. Well, you know what? I think this was such a wonderful show today, and I'm so happy to have you on. Where can people find you? You gave us your website before, but go ahead and give that again. And then also, if there's any places you'd like for people to connect with you on social media, feel free to list that as well.
Yeah, our website is unsit.com, www.unsit.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com. The page is Great Minds Move, which is our tagline, Great Mind Moves. It's actually, the Facebook page is unsit.greatmindsmove is the Facebook page, unsit.greatmindsmove. And we have an Instagram page too under Great Minds Move, and that's our trademark tagline.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today with my guests and sharing what you're passionate about with me and my tribe. I'm so happy to have you. And I just want to acknowledge you. I'm so grateful for what you're doing for humanity and the health of the people of the world. It is so important. And I just honor you for what's in your heart and what you have a mission to do.
Well, Liz, a big namaste to you as well, because I see the good work that you're doing, and let's get people up and moving again.
Let's do that indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me today on the Figure Fit Lifestyle Coaching Podcast. I am incredibly grateful that you stopped by. If you could take just 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would love it and who can use it, I would be so incredibly grateful and honored. And I know that your friends will thank you too. Also, if you feel so moved, we would be incredibly grateful if you could go into iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Leave us an honest thought, an honest comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you need more of. It would really help us out on our journey to help thousands and thousands of people reconnect back to their soul, live a life of health and happiness, and to love the body that they are in. Until then, don't forget that you are so worth your own self-love, self-care, and investment in your body, your goals, and your life. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody. Have a great day.